as a fabulous fabric from the land of the five rivers.
Years ago, when we came to Los Angeles, I really believed that the greatness of the Raiders would be in its future.
We back. Man, y'all already know what time it is.
Oh, you didn't know?
50-50.
Welcome to the 50-50 Show with PharoahNFL and the Severe Raider, the realest show for Raider Nation.
The perpetuation of the greatness of the Raiders to take a professional football team and give it a distinct characteristic that's different from all others.
Make sure to clock in, like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
Man, you already know what time it is. Make sure to clock in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. We going live on both our channels, man, with obviously myself, PharoahNFL, my guy, the Severe Raider. So if you're first time joining us, definitely hit the subscribe button and also hit like, clock in, as we like to say, man. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Salute to the night crew pulling up, man. We see y'all, man. Hey, it's about damn time, man. About damn time, huh? That's the theme of the show. About damn time, man. Pete Carroll was officially fired on Monday. Obviously, we all kind of seen it coming. The writing was on the wall. There were some people trying to say that, oh, well, Pete might possibly stay, this, that, and third, but it was just no way he was coming back. So we'll get into that conversation. Obviously, the head coach search begins for the Raiders. We'll get into that. So a whole bunch of talk about. The Raiders did win last game of the season. That was kind of strange. Hopefully that doesn't affect anything. I know they got the number one pick, but I heard some things about like
affects the other rounds.
Exactly. Exactly. But salute to everybody pulling up. Night crew in the building. Yep, the late night show is upon us, man. Appreciate you pulling up. We appreciate everybody pulling up. My guy Yaya in the building. Salute. The season is over now. To the facts, man. We just gonna have to give you one of these, Yaya. I had to do it,
First
man.
of all,
I just had to.
I wasn't gonna do my dog like that.
My salute to my guy Yaya, man, the building, man. You can take it over real quick, Severe.
Yes, sir. Salute to my guy Alfredo. Salute to the nation. Salute Severe and Pharaoh. Salute back to you, brother. No to Flores. Ooh, interesting. It's been a name that's been mentioned a few times, so we'll see. I want to see some mistakes from both QBs, but mostly want to see how they bounce back from them on Friday. Yeah, it's a big game, man. It's gonna be a big game. Rematch. See if Oregon can get some revenge, or see if Indiana continues their march towards perfection. Yeah, man. Harbaugh versus Harbaugh, AFC West showdown, maybe, possibly. I don't know. You're mute.
Yeah, that's big NFL news as far as Harbaugh being fired. John Harbaugh. I mean, we kind of heard that it was a possibility, but we kind of was one of those like we'll believe it when we see it, because he's been the head coach for like almost a couple of decades.
Yeah, like 12. I mean, I would say 12 years.
It might have been not that, but I think he's been with the Ravens for almost 18 years. I think I seen the presser that the owner released. He said 18 years, so maybe some of that was just within the organization, and the other part you said was like 12 years as head coach.
Yeah, I think that's it. Maybe it's longer than that. I think he went to the playoffs 12 times though. So maybe he hasn't been coached for 18 years though.
He's been there for a minute, bro. He's been there for a minute. He's been there with two different quarterbacks, Joe Flacco and Ray Lewis, Anquan Bolden, that team. R.I.P. Jacoby.
Jacoby Jones.
Yeah, did he play for that Ravens team that won a Super Bowl? I think he did.
I don't know if he played for the Ravens team that won a Super Bowl. I know he played for the Ravens though.
I think he had a
kick return. Yeah, I know he was a kick returner.
Yeah, he did. But I know Michael's like, man, Harbaugh showdown. I don't know, man. I'm just kind of like, it's not that I doubt him as a coach. It's just I'm just looking at the Raiders situation and being realistic. But we'll get into candidates though. We'll get into that conversation about candidates. Franklin, salute to everybody pulling up. Starting to warm up to idea. Mendoza wasn't sold on a QB this year, but the more I do research, I know that's what I'm saying. He checks a lot of boxes. Yeah. The one thing you do question with him is like his ceiling. You know what I mean? Like, how good can he be? And you're picking the number 1 overall, and you're like, you would want a guy with a little bit like more, potential to be, because I feel like he's a high floor prospect. Like top, like the highest I could see him be in the NFL. Like just as of right now, anything could change. Obviously, I'm not not gonna act like he can't be better than this, but it's like top 12, top 15 quarterback.
I give him a little bit high, but yeah, like not too far off. I'll give him like 9 to like in that 9 to 12 range. I think he can get.
You think he could be in the top 10?
I think he can crack. I think he can crack the top 10. If you get him with a good coach and a good supporting cast, I think he can crack the top 10. Crack the top 10. But like the people always say, like his ceiling, that's not the only box that's not checked. There's other question marks around him too. But that's only one people want to look at because there's always recency bias.
Okay, well, let's get into it, man. There's a big game coming up. Obviously, the Raiders, they locked up the number 1 pick this weekend, especially with the Giants winning a game that you picked. I think you picked the Giants last week on our weekly NFL picks.
Yeah.
Tune in to find out who won. It's not,
We already know. We know.
you know, but just tune in around the show. We'll get into that. But
Tune in to see those final records. See,
Yeah.
you know.
exactly. But yeah. So we'll it's just the quarterback situation. I feel like for me, it's like who are the Raiders all in on? That's really what matters to me the most, because that's how close I feel like Moore and Mendoza are as far as like prospects, like for different reasons. Is like coaching staff all in on them? Is the GM all in on them? Is the ownership all in? Like whoever that quarterback is, that's who I want the Raiders to get. I don't want it to be a situation where Brady likes Mendoza and everybody in the building likes Moore.
Yeah,
we kind of talked about that last week. I don't want it to be a situation like that.
Exactly.
Now, there is a big game coming up this Friday, I believe. Oregon versus Indiana, which is going to be another, test, and be able to see like Moore playing a big game, as well as Mendoza, and then we can see how they play against each other. Well, they're not going to be playing against each other, but they're going to be playing. Both teams are going to be both good teams, so
exactly
good matchup for both quarterbacks. So. The last time they played, Mendoza kind of won that game late. He did have a big turnover, but he was able to bounce back, which is good.
I think Moore had one too, though, right? I think Moore had an interception too, if I recall correctly.
He did, but I felt like I think Mendoza, didn't he throw a pick six?
Maybe, I don't remember.
I think Mendoza threw a pick six. If I could.
Maybe
if it wasn't a pick six, it was a clear interception, but he bounced.
Yeah.
It was in the fourth quarter, I believe.
Yeah,
bounced back, and then obviously was able to win the game. But we'll see what happens this week. But I think that this is going to be a big. It's close. You know what I mean? We're talking about it. We're like in January, and the draft is not until April. So there's going to be a whole literally
a lot.
Literally, everybody's going to be unpacking both Mendoza, and if Moore hasn't really officially declared, but it's like all signs point to him. Like, come on, bro. Like,
yeah.
You gotta go. Like, you gotta go. You're risking not going in the top, basically, two.
Yeah.
Raiders and Jets pick number 1 and 2, and they both need quarterbacks. So, it's a great opportunity for Moore, so we can see him coming out. But you were saying that there are other things that like people don't notice about Mendoza that you have questions about. What were those things?
I mean, obviously, you look at. Prior to getting with Curt Cignetti, his turnover-worthy plays, he had like a whole bunch of turnover-worthy plays. You look at this production, just a stark contrast in production from when he was at Cal to now that he's at Indiana. Is he just a byproduct of Curt Cignetti and the team that Curt Cignetti built and that system, or is it more individual, Mendoza himself? That's always a concern. So also some people have concerns about the offense they run. He does run a lot of RPOs, and they rely heavily on a run game to kind of kick things off, and then once the run game gets going, then RPO game gets going, and then that's when Mendoza usually starts to heat up a little bit more. I think people always also point to like his performances outside this Alabama game. Before this Alabama game, I think one of the things was like his production against ranked opponents. There was like a stark contrast between how he produced against ranked opponents and non-ranked opponents. But that's kind of every quarterback for the most part. And then obviously this Alabama game, it was lights out. So I think that should kind of put that question to bed, whether he can do it against, like in bigger games. But no, those other questions still remain. You're muted.
My bad. Okay, so you mentioned okay. Well, you mentioned the competition thing, and I know that someone I think I know like the conversation that you're talking about, how people are like questioning, like, okay, how well he plays against different competition, but at the end of the day, like he's 13-0, like he's undefeated with Indiana, and then he flashed with Cal too as well. Like it's not like he was terrible with Cal, like he flashed.
Oh yeah.
The way it's like the talent level around him, I think it's not the same where he has in Indiana, and Indiana is better with him.
But how about marginally better?
Well, did they go undefeated last year?
No, but they went to the college football playoff last year.
Did they win a game? Did they win a game with?
I think they won. I want to say they won the first round game, and they lost to Penn. I know they lost to Penn State. I don't remember if it was the first or second round. I know they lost to Penn State. No, that wasn't Penn State.
But
yeah, it was Penn State. I think it was a Penn State, if I recall correctly.
But I feel like, I think we safely say that Mendoza's a better quarterback than Curtis Ward.
Yeah. That's not it. But that's not the question we're asking. That's not the question at hand.
We're asking if he's
the question is who benefits more from whom? Does Mendoza benefit more from Kurt Cignetti and the talent he has around him, or does Mendoza benefit more from, or does Indiana benefit more from having Mendoza there? And like you can have an argument on both sides of it.
I think it's both.
Yeah, I mean it's both, but like it's not a both. It's a which one is more.
Well, how about Dante Moore? I mean, he's playing with a great offensive line. Probably one of the best offensive lines in college football. I mean, there's some weapons that he's playing with. I mean, you can argue like who has more weapons, but I think it's just
that's not an argument. I mean, you can't. If you try to argue it, it'll be a losing argument. I mean, if you want to, like, what you can say with Dante Moore is that Dylan Gabriel, like Curtis Work last year, was also a Heisman finalist. Oregon was also a college football playoff team last year. Difference is that Oregon lost a lot more talent than Indiana. Indiana, like in terms of a team, they got better as a team from last year to this year. Oregon, I think they took a step back, and they got younger as a team. There are a lot more younger guys starting, especially at the skill positions. Look at corner, on defense. The guys up front and linebacking core. Like his receivers, for the most part, are all young guys. So like they got younger and worse. Indiana got more mature and they got better. So I think that's also the difference there. But I think Indiana is also a better team. They're also performing better than Oregon performed last year or this year. So if Indiana team last year played this Oregon team, I think this Oregon team probably beats that team from last year. But this team from this year, this Indiana team beat this Oregon team this year with Fernando Mendoza. So, it's kind of, you gotta silo those things off. I think they're both like very good prospects. It's just like at that point, like when you're trying to judge between two guys.
Not to cut you off, but you're making the supporting cast seem like it's not close. Like you're saying that it's like
it's not close. Oh, it's not close. If you want to say it's not close. It's not close.
Well, they got a first round tight end coming out.
That's a first round tight end. So how much production is that tight end putting up? He has 2 pro receivers, a pro running back, several pro linemen, and probably the guy that's unanimous coach of the year 2 years in a row. And an offensive head coach. Dan Lanning is a defensive head coach. So that's also an advantage right there. And he has a Shanahan calling his plays. Like that's another advantage.
Oh, are you talking about Indiana's offensive coordinator?
Yeah. So he says what I'm saying. And like, but I say this, and it's not to like diminish what Mendoza is as a prospect. I think he's still a very good prospect. It's just that when you're trying to decide between these two people, you have to distill all this stuff, and you have to put things in a proper context. And then looking in a proper context, so in terms of supporting cast, it's not close. Like it's not. You can't even make an argument. It's not close. We have one tight end, and then I think he has some people that will be good going forward.
A better offensive line,
I don't think he has a better offensive line. I think the offensive line is about the same.
I don't know.
Better offensive line is about the same.
I don't know about that.
It's about the same.
Well, okay, how many first round talent offensive linemen are going to be drafted on the Indiana line?
Probably like one. I mean, they might get one. I think Oregon maybe have two.
Who am I missing?
I think they have. I think it was a guard. Don't they have a guard that's rated pretty highly?
I know Oregon got a guard that might get drafted in the first round.
They have a center, I think, and they have like people like World. Depending on how you feel about World,
that's gonna get drafted in the first round.
I don't know if World good, but people liked him, and they have their center. I think their center was like fifth in the Remington Award.
It's early, but I'm seeing like mocks with like the Penn State guard and then the Pragon dude from
from
Oregon.
Yeah,
like those are the two guards that I'm seeing that's gonna get drafted early in the first round, and then also the Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq. I see him getting drafted in the first round, like top 20 pick.
I don't think he's gonna get top 20, but he might go late first.
He's gonna go to first round. He's gonna be a first round tight end. And then Surratt, I've seen him as high as second round.
He'll probably go second round.
Which is a receiver for Becker. He's not coming out. He's like
not coming out. But he's gonna be eventually like second or first round pick. I think Cooper will probably be a day 2 pick, like a third, like fourth.
He's like a slot receiver.
Yeah, he'll get drafted pretty early. But yeah, outside that tight end, like there's not a skill position player there. I think as a unit, Indiana's I think their unit as offensive line, I think it's better. You see how they handle but Alabama hasn't really put up much of a pass rush this year. But for the most part, Mendoza had a lot of time, and they were able to run the ball quite effectively. So if you look at the game, that Texas Tech game versus Oregon, it was a completely different game. As a matter of fact, the offensive line for Dante Moore on several occasions, bad snaps, missed assignments. They actually did more harm than good in that game for a lot of game. They really couldn't run the ball either. So it was essentially, like all on the arm of Dante Moore. And he did have like a bad throw where he threw an interception. I think they fooled him in cover. They disguised the coverage, and the linebacker dropped and picked him off. But other than that, he played a pretty clean game. And Mendoza played damn near a flawless game. I think he only had like 3 incompletions. Especially once they were able to get the RPO game going, it was all downhill from there. Once they were able to run the ball.
Yeah, look, man, I think Dante Moore has a solid supporting cast, man. I don't think he has a bad.
Yeah. I don't think it's like a bad supporting cast, but I think but Fernando Mendoza has a much better supporting cast.
How's Dante Moore dealt with pressure? Like, how's he dealt with pressure? Because he hasn't really played. Indiana's probably the best team that he played, and then Penn State.
They fell off.
Penn State, has like they got they got some.
Indiana was the best team he played. Texas Tech was probably the second best team that he played. I don't know. Indiana has a really good defense too. That's what people don't talk about. Indiana has a damn good defense as well. So Texas Tech may be the second best. Maybe the second best defense he played.
Oregon defense? I think Oregon defense is pretty good too.
Defense is pretty good too. Oregon's defense is pretty good too. They're super young though, especially in the corner. I think they have like a true freshman starter at corner. The other corner I think is a true sophomore. So they're like young on defense. But I think Texas Tech is a hella good defense. He was pressured all game. I think he dealt with it well. That's one of his main things is like his poise. Like his poise, he's unflappable. He's able to operate. That's his calling card. Is his poise and his calm under pressure. So I think he deals with it well. But Mendoza, he's shown against Ohio State. He was able to do the same thing where he was taking hits, especially early in the game. Took a big hit, came back in, and he got right back to willing and dealing. So I think both guys. I think that's a point for both guys.
Yeah, we'll see how it shakes out. There's like I said, man, it's gonna be a big game this Friday. Mendoza versus Dante Moore, Oregon. However way you want to look at it, Dante Moore versus Mendoza. Oregon versus Indiana, two good teams, two talented teams. They're going to go against. So it's going to be a good chance to see both quarterbacks and see how they play against good competition. Like I said, Mendoza, first time around, was able to get the win, played well late. We'll see how Dante Moore plays part 2. See if he responds. Because I want to see him kind of respond to like really good, like a really good team, like, and that's Indiana. So, because I think Texas Tech, they were able to shut them down because like offensively they can. It was just
they couldn't. They couldn't really get much.
Shout out Brendan Sorsby who officially transferred to Texas Tech. He made it official, which
it's intelligent.
Smart move. And I think he's getting paid too. So they're making that move. It's gonna be interesting to see his whole trajectory too. It's like if he balls out, because if he balls out next year, Texas Tech, you know what I mean? Good team, good defense. I'm sure they're not afraid.
The workers went to the first round.
I don't know if there's anybody on that offense. You know what I mean? Because that was one thing that I noticed. Like when he was with Cincinnati, it was kind of nasty just watching them because they didn't really have like a whole lot of skill position players around them like that. I mean, they maybe running back, possibly. I think the best thing about, and it's off topic. We'll get into the Raiders in a second, but like, the best thing he had was probably the offensive line. And Cincinnati was pretty solid, but that was about it. But yeah, man. Raiders obviously finished the season with a win. I don't know how you feel about it. It is what it is. But they get the number 1 pick. I kind of feel good, man. I'm kind of excited to see what the Raiders are going to do, man. Like, this is a good problem to have. Not that it's a problem, more so like you don't know what route they're going to go, but they're going to spend the entire offseason basically looking at all their options. I'm sure there's going to be someone that's probably going to call the Raiders up and be like, hey, what is it going to take to get the number 1 pick? You know what I mean? Whether that's the Jets. But the thing is, I was hoping that the Jets were like at number 4 or 5. Because then the bounty would be a little bit higher, but they're number 2. So now it's just like, yeah, they probably can get like an extra. So really, realistically, they're not going to trade down. They're not going to trade down at all. They're going to take a quarterback. What was your take on the Raiders getting their number 1 pick?
I mean, I was excited. I mean, obviously, you know, you want. I mean, the number 1 pick puts you in that advantageous position. You know, I didn't want us to win the game. It's more so because of the other draft positioning, and just because I just didn't want to give Pete Carroll the benefit of having to win. Right? I just don't like that dude. I don't like that dude at all. I just what he did to this team. Yeah, I think I just knew I didn't want to see him go out. Watching him celebrate, I was disgusted. I was like, man, get your old ass. Like, bro, you're disgusting. You destroyed this team. You the way you conducted yourself was like just despicable as a head coach. Just the constant lies. Like I didn't want him to have the satisfaction of getting a divisional win. So like it didn't hurt. It wouldn't, like, obviously there's some Raider fans that wanted to just see a meaningless win. Yay for them, I guess. But I didn't want Pete Carroll to go out with any kind of, you know, satisfactory performance. So, but it is what it is. In terms of the number 1 overall pick, you know, it just gives us options, man. It gives us options. There's a lot of things we can do. Most people want us to take a quarterback, but you know, we could trade down. You know, I don't think we would take a different position other than a quarterback if we stick and pick. Obviously, you know, the quarterback is a huge need for us. So. But you know, it opens up the possibility of the trade down, and you doing what the Cleveland Browns did. And you know, we all talk about how incredible their draft was, and obviously, unless we get a suitor that's, you know, willing to make a nice size move and offer us a bounty, you know, we won't be moving back that far. So it remains to be seen if there's any teams that's out there willing to do that. And in this QB class, the fact that it's scarcity, especially in the first round, that could force a team's hands where they panic and be like, look, we got to get a guy. So that's where that could work in our favor in this class. But, you know, like, there's a mixed opinions on how good the guys at the top of this draft are. So that could work, you know, against us.
the thing is, I feel like the Raiders do need some type of trade to help. Like, I'm not trying to take any shortcuts here, but like, let's keep it real. Like, big time trades where you get a draft haul help a team build a foundation. And we've seen good teams in the NFL, like the Lions and certain teams like that, where they were able to like kind of like, you know, build up the team based off the trade haul they were able to get from trading Stafford, for example. And I'm kind of like segueing it to Maxx Crosby. He's also in the rumor mill. After, you know, obviously we heard Pete Carroll getting fired. We also are hearing rumors about like Maxx. You know, he didn't like the fact that he had to get shut down, you know, last couple games. When we talked about it before and how we felt about it, but now we're hearing rumors about that. And I think it's more likely that Maxx gets traded than the Raiders trading from number 1 to whatever spot, you know, that a team is drafting from to trade up to number 1. I think that's more possible than trading from number 1, because I think the Raiders have to get a quarterback. Like the answer is the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
Usually they're looking for answers in free agency. They're looking to trade because the draft wasn't a guarantee to get a young guy. So they would try to, like, you know, find a creative way by getting a guy in free agency or trading for a guy. But, you know, obviously with the number 1 pick, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Now you could just put all your resources on trying to prepare getting a number 1 pick as in a QB coming into the building. So that means going all in on the offensive line. Maybe like the Raiders have enough cap space where they can go all in on the offensive line. Maybe get a couple of guys, pay them good money. You know, the center from Baltimore comes to mind, Linderbaum. Then you got like a couple of right tackle options out there. You know, nothing too crazy. Like we talked about, this is why you drafted, you know, offensive lineman high, because the really elite ones are not going to be available, but you're going to have to overpay for some average to above average guys. You know, there's some familiar faces in free agency. Jermaine Illuminor is available. I know there's a Braden Smith, right tackle for the Colts. Bring him in and have him compete with Charles Grant at right tackle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And structure that contract where you can get out of it after a year. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's, to me, because the way Charles Grant, you know, he kind of flashed a little bit where you like, oh, maybe we might have something here. You know, hey, that was a guy that you kind of pointed, you know, that was your guy, you know, that was your mock draft guy. And then the Raiders ended up drafting him in the 4th round, I believe, right?
Third.
Oh, end of the 3rd. Yep. It was, yep.
And last pick of their last pick of the 3rd, yeah.
Did they have like 3 third-round picks? Did they have like 3?
I think they had 3, yeah. They picked Rodgers and Grant back to back.
Yeah, so there you go. So it was part of the trade down, because they were trading down in the 2nd round. They kept trading down, and they ended up getting a couple of 3rd-round picks, which they already had a 3rd-round pick in drafting Darian Porter. Caleb Rogers also flashed. So there's some hope there in the offensive line, but we still got to add some key veterans to bring it all together. And obviously the coaching staff, which is going to be huge. That's a big thing here. Before we even get into the free agency and the draft, we got to figure out who are the Raiders going to get at head coach. And most importantly, if you're going to draft a QB, who's going to be the offensive coordinator? Who's going to be the QB coach? Who's going to be the offensive line coach, right? All that stuff matters. As we've seen this season, coaching matters. Coaching matters. Yeah. It does matter, as well as talent too. Let's keep it real. I would say talent matters more, but you know, that being said, the Raiders need a coach. There's been some talk. There's been some conversation about Brian Flores and Brian Daboll coming into the building. How do you feel about that?
I'd like it. You know, I'd like it. We see, you know, especially if we end up drafting a young guy, you know, whether that be Moore or Mendoza, I think that, Brian Dable, we saw his work with Josh Allen, turning him from a guy that was obviously, kind of a ball of clay, but you saw all the traits there, you see all the tools, but he was a 50% passer at Wyoming. So it's not like he played like Power 5 football. And when he wasn't playing power football, he wasn't like super accurate, but just his traits were there. You see the ceiling, and he helped him kind of reach that ceiling. And he really obviously couldn't do it with Daniel Jones, who was a quarterback he inherited when he took the Giants job. He did go on that run though, and go to the playoffs with Daniel Jones. But fast forward, Jackson Dart was a guy that we talk about all the time. That Dayball identified, got him in the building. Had him playing pretty well as a rookie. We see the impact that Brian Flores has been able to make everywhere he goes, whether that be the Dolphins, what he turned their defense, I want to say, into a top 5 defense by his third year there. He goes to the Vikings. I think his first year as Vikings DC, I think their defense ranks 17th. Then it goes from 17th to like 6th, and from 6th to like 4th, and just three short years. So he's able to make a impact immediately. Pre-draft, when the Dolphins were looking at a quarterback, he preferred Justin Herbert over Tua Tagovailoa. Obviously, he was correct in that assessment. So you kind of worry about some of the things you hear about his relationship with Tua. But then you also hear some of the things that Tua is doing. So it's like, okay, well, can you be too mad at Brian Flores for that? And I also think his time being with Mike Tomlin, who's known as a culture builder, as well as Kevin O'Connell, who's known as a culture builder. I think that those experiences, as well as that separation in years from his last head coaching tenure, I think that will serve him well. Just his ability to be able to reflect and kind of identify his pitfalls, and hopefully formulate a plan where he doesn't trip over those same obstacles in the future.
Yeah, I like Brian Flores because people forget, like, he got the most out of that Dolphins team. That was not a good that was not a talented Dolphins team. They had some players here and there, you know what I mean, that played well. But Ryan Fitzpatrick was a starting quarterback. I know they drafted Tua, but they were. I feel like he got the most out of that team, but there was some stuff going on behind the scenes, and we'll get into some of that later on. But how he handled the Tua situation is kind of like, oh man, like, I know you want to hurt me, but damn, you got Tua, so you just, what are you gonna just like kill it? You're gonna kill a young player's confidence. That's kind of concerning, especially because the Raiders have a number 1 pick. What happens if, like, and this is why, like, also, like I said earlier, that it matters when everybody's on the same page. It matters when the GM, the coach, everybody's all in on whoever they're drafting, especially number 1 in quarterback. So, something like this, I know that, like, Flores, handled it. He didn't handle it the best way, but in reality, in every situation where people are not all in on a pick or move, it doesn't work out. So, obviously Flores, he took it to a whole different level. He was just like, he did not care. He's pretty blunt about it. And Tua was not afraid to talk about it too. Because it was that bad of an experience. But so that's something that, like, you got to think about. And then we'll get into, like, all the other stuff too. Because one of the things that we want to talk about was Ryan Fitzpatrick was a notable quotable. So we'll get into that a little bit. But some other candidates, the Raiders have requested to speak to Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator from the Broncos. Yeah, you know what I mean? Not like the the sexiest name like you want to hear a head coach, you know what I'm saying? But Clint Kubiak, offensive coordinator from the Seahawks, I think the Raiders also requested to speak to him as well. I know they're in the playoffs, so then that whole process is going to be kind of like same thing with Van Joseph. So there's going to be a process where I think they speak to him, but then there's going to be they really want them. If they've locked in on that candidate, that means they're going to have to wait until they pretty much are done with the playoffs or lose pretty much. So we'll keep an eye on that. But I think that the Raiders should do their due diligence. They shouldn't rush the process. They should interview as many candidates as possible. I don't want it to be the same like process of finding a coach like they did last year, because it felt like last year they locked into Ben Johnson and then it was just everybody else. Hopefully they can just like, all right, let's get a good pool of candidates and then figure out who the best guys for the job. And I kind of we didn't talk about this, but I liked Mark Davis' press release and how he made clear to let everybody know who's in charge.
Exactly.
I appreciated that. I appreciate it. He let everybody know, hey, Spy Tech is going to be leading the way in collaboration with Tom Brady. Cool.
Yeah.
Now we know where the decision making and all, like now we know who's in charge. That's good. That's what you're supposed to do. So I'm glad that and hopefully they're able. Hopefully Spy Tech will be able to pair up with a head coach that meshes well with him. I think that's a big key. That's very important because obviously he didn't mesh well with Pete Carroll at all.
And nobody did.
Nobody did, man. So that's something that, like, you know, they have to prioritize moving forward, getting a guy that meshes well with him. Because when you get it, I mean, come on, like naturally, if you hire a guy that's former Super Bowl champ, he's 70-something years old, and is a first-year head GM, it's like, it's like almost doomed. Like it's doomed to fail. Like,
not fact.
It's too. And you know, shout out to Ryan McFadden. He dropped a article with a whole lot of damning information about the Raiders.
Yeah.
Some of it was stuff that we already knew, and you know, he just put it all together. But you know, there was a lot of you know, sources there, you know, talking to agents, players on the team, you know, executives around in the NFL with some interesting comments about the Raiders. A lot of it just confirmed like the dysfunction with the team, the fact that, you know, not Mike Mayock, but man, there's so many GMs I got to remember. You know, Spy Tech not being on the same page. You know what I mean? With and it was clear because they made a point to say, because they spoke to an executive who's actually looking to trade for JPJ. This is in the article, y'all. Go ahead and check it out whenever you guys get the chance. But he was trying to trade for JPJ because he was wondering, like, why is JPJ not playing? I'm sure they scouted him probably in that draft. You know, he was just drafted a year ago, you know, in the league, and he understood. He was paying attention to what was going on with the team, and obviously there's a little bit of disconnect of him getting on the field and him having a competition and yada yada yada. So he said the team that he was working for was putting in calls trying to get him to trade for it, but Spy Tech was like, nah. He's like, no. So he said right there and then he knew that there was a disconnect between the front office and the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Because you got a guy in the front office like, nah, I'm not going to trade this guy. Like, he knows that he's a talented interior offensive lineman. And then you got a coaching staff that's like, no, we feel like Alex Kappa might give us a better chance to win football games. I mean, what was your take about I know there was so much information, but what was like your biggest take from all that article that was dropped today?
Yeah, my biggest take was that Pete Carroll is despicable, man. That was my biggest take. Pete Carroll is despicable. Him shoehorning his sons onto this coaching staff, giving one of his sons a prominent role, you know, essentially undermining the development, undermining our offense, undermining the development of our young offensive linemen, and undermining the productivity of our, you know, number one overall, or our number one draft pick in Ashton Genty. Like, his son, Pete Carroll, in conjunction with his son, did all of that. and just hearing just the nepotism and the favoritism, hearing about all of that, the lack of coaching that was going on, the lack of communication that was happening between such a vital coach and your offensive line coach and your run game coordinator, and the fact that he just wasn't communicating his expectations or what he was looking for or what he wanted out of these young guys. It was just extreme negligence, and the fact that everybody knew he was the issue. So it wasn't like there was whispers or some people think it's this person or some people think like the line that was said was everybody knew what the issue was, but nobody could say anything because it was Pete Carroll's son. And that's a dynamic that I talked about when we first hired him, was that, especially if you have a guy that's going to be your offensive coordinator, like how is he going to reprimand the head coach's son, who plays a very vital role on the team, being the offensive line coach and the run game coordinator for a team that's expected to be a heavy running team. Like it never made any sense. So, and just the fact that it was so obvious that Pete Carroll and Spytek weren't on the same page, just from what we did on draft day. First of all, drafting Ashton Jeanty at 6, that's not a Spytek move at all. That's a Pete Carroll move. We both called that. And then you hear Spytek, we talked about it, we joked about it and laughed about it, but the whole Tommy Mellott thing, right? Where he drafted Tommy Mellott as a quarterback from Division II, moving him to wide receiver in the NFL. And, the expectation is somehow between, April when he's drafted and in August when, preseason starts and the cuts have to happen. Like he's supposed to convert himself into an NFL wide receiver in that time. And if he doesn't, then you discard the draft. Like it just never made any sense at all. And so it was just terrible. And like, I don't know if it was, whether it was pride or ego or stubbornness, but however Pete Carroll conducted himself on his team, it immediately set us behind the 8 ball from the very beginning, and we just never recovered.
Yeah, no, facts. Yeah, the Tommy Mellott situation, and it was funny too. I knew that there was some type of disconnect early on. I was like paying attention because Spytek, he made a comment about Mellott. He was getting interviewed and asked about Mellott being, released, and he was all like, well, hopefully he'll go somewhere where they have a lot more patience, or he said something to that. I'm paraphrasing, but when you say something like that, it's like you basically are addressing the obvious, but also it's kind of a shot at the team and the coaching staff, Pete Carroll. So early on, and I think, hindsight's 2020, but like we were like paying attention to the offseason and all the moves, and now looking back, we can see that Spytek had a more longer approach to building this football team, and Pete Carroll was about winning right now. And just paid, and if you just paid attention to what Pete Carroll was saying in the offseason, oh, I'm a coach, I'm used to winning 10 games. I'm gonna win this, I'm gonna win that. I'm, him vouching and getting veterans, trying to sign veterans to these 1-year deals and yada yada yada. But salute to Spytek, who didn't try to buy into all that and try to like sign a lot of veterans to big time contracts. Now he did admit in his presser, and we didn't talk about this, but Spytek did have a presser, to talk about, Pete Carroll getting fired and, state of the team. And he did take accountability as far as like, man, I got to take responsibility for letting some guys go who are playing well in other places. I probably should have kept them and, and build with them. But the reality is, we can hold them accountable for that. I have no problem with that. But also the other side to me is like, bro, like this happens with every new GM, every new head coach that comes to a team. There's going to be some casualties. And this is why having a constant, carousel of coaches and GM hurt the team, because there's going to be players that leave that are not good because the coaching staff is going to be like, I want my players because I have this system, and these guys are not guys that I'm that probably fit my system and yada yada yada. And then guess what? Those guys go to somewhere else where they feel like they're more valued or more, got coaching staff that believes in them. This happens plenty of times. Like, how many times have we seen former players go to a coaching staff that they're familiar with? Like, literally, it's not the main reason why Davante Adams came to the Raiders, but his former wide receiver coach was on the team. You know what I mean? Like, hey, they're players are always looking for connections. Coaching staffs, they're always looking for connections. So, man, salute to Alfredo. Says that report made me sick. Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm getting sick right now.
Yes,
Just talking about it. Hey, man. Yeah, Hank, man. Happy New Year's, man. Happy New Year, to everybody, man. Hey, man. Salute to everybody, man. Happy New Year's.
Nice. Happy
Hope
New
everybody.
Year.
Hopefully the New Year's is treating everybody well, man. Santana, man. I appreciate the super chat, my guy, man. Appreciate supporting the show. He says, Severe, can you take this away real quick?
Yeah, it says swap first rounds this year. Woods plus 2 future first, 2 future seconds, 1 future third, and 2 future fifth for Burrow and Chase. Am I on? Yeah, that's a Madden trade, brother. That is a Madden trade right now. Burrow may be a realistic target. I don't think they're going to get rid of Chase and Burrow. It's a possibility just because of how bloated that contract is. But do we want to take on those hefty contracts, especially when we have several holes to fill ourselves? So, like the only reason I can see the Cincinnati wanting to do that is to get offload some money. But like, do we want to take on that much money? Like, as I said, when we still have several spots on this team, we have to take care of. So we're essentially be putting Joe Burrow actually in a worse situation, because at least in Cincinnati, he has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. If you put him over here, I guess he'll have Brock and Jamar Chase, but still questionable offensive line.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
Burrow and Chase
and Brock. Yeah.
That'd be crazy. Basically the best wide receiver and best tight end in football.
Yeah. But right now he has the best wide receiver and probably the best number 2 in the league. So
it ain't, number 2 is the number 1.
Exactly. So it's like he ain't doing much with that. So we out of frying pan into the fire essentially.
Yeah.
And it doesn't do much to help, Genty, who we still need to ensure that we like maximize as much as possible to, extract as much value out of the first round pick as possible. So we got to do that by addressing the offensive line, which, I guess conceivably if we do that, we'll be trading our first round pick. So we won't have a first round pick. So we'd have to do that later in the draft. So like I don't know.
Yeah, man. But we appreciate everybody coming through. Make sure to clock in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Yeah, we are actually live. We're actually live, man. We just read your super chat. Salute to you, man. Appreciate you coming through. Okay, yeah. David Webb as a head coach option? No, we haven't talked about that, but that would be left field for sure if that happened. I know a lot of people are high on him. Currently, is he? I think he's a QB coach right now.
Yeah.
So that would be a big jump from QB coach to head coach. But obviously, Brian Flores, the linebacker coach, became a head coach.
Yeah.
Antonio Pierce was a linebacker coach, interim, a head coach, and then full-time head coach. So I guess it's possible that a position coach can become head coach, but that's a big jump.
You pick 2 positions that like fail. they both failed.
Well, but Flores though,
Flores not of his. Yeah,
I actually believe in Flores.
I do too.
But I think that there's a risk with him too. There's some red flags. I ain't gonna fry.
Oh, definitely.
There's some red flags. So I'm not gonna act like, oh, Flores is like number 1, like he's my number 1 candidate. The guy that I was really I thought if he was available, I was all in on was we
Shane
talked
Steichen.
with Shane Steichen because he just from an offensive standpoint, he just checked like so many like boxes that you want in a offensive head coach. Like he is up there to me as one of the best offensive head coaches in the league, but but obviously that's not happening. Owner came out and said like she's gonna be she's gonna be rolling with them.
Yeah, she also said she also put him on notice though. She also put him on notice, like yeah, bruh, we rolling with you again, but you on that? It's Dame time.
Well, because they came into the season on the hot seat. They obviously started season like crazy, like 8-1, 8-2, whatever the case may be. Daniel Jones is playing his best ball of his career. Obviously, Colts had one of the best offenses in the NFL. Run game was crazy. Jonathan Taylor, MVP candidate, whatnot. And then they made that big time trade. So, yeah, they're on notice because now, like, if they don't, if they're not competing next year, or at least be in the playoffs and competing, then it's like, all right, you failed. And now, like, we lost that because they trade like 2 first-round picks for
Sauce, yeah. And I think they paid him too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, and they think they finished the season 1-7. So it's like,
yeah,
praise.
yeah, that's gonna be tough. But yeah, we're talking about head coach candidates. I know he said David Webb. I know we talked about Clint Kubiak. The thing about Clint Kubiak is his run
I don't
game.
think we talked about it. Yeah, I don't think we talked about him, but
Clint Kubiak, I feel like his run game kind of scares me. I know a lot of people are high on Clint Kubiak. He's like he's the one guy I'm like, all right. I feel like from a passing standpoint, I think a quarterback can come in and like play well. Like that's the important part. Is like you're thinking about the quarterback and development, but I'm thinking like, be honest with you, run game.
yeah.
I'm thinking about the run game. I'm thinking about Ashton Genty. You just picked the number 6 overall pick, and like you're gonna bring in a guy that like hasn't really had any success. Like to me, the best offenses in the NFL have a good run game.
Yeah.
Like the Sean McVay's good run game, the Steichen good run game, Shanahan good run game, Mike McDaniel good run game. Like all these top offensive minded.
Josh McDaniels, offensive rookie of the year, running back.
Got to throw that. Had to throw that in there, huh? Had to throw that in there. Yeah, salute. If Kubiak goes back to Seattle or doesn't want to come here, do we go after Harbaugh? Nah, man, just go after a younger candidate. And I guess we could address it now. The same reason I had with Tomlin is the same reason I'm gonna have with Harbaugh. They're gonna come in here and they're gonna come here with demands. They're not just gonna come to the Raiders, just because they have the number 1 pick. Like they're successful coaches in their own right. Like Super Bowl winning coaches, guys like Tomlin, who's obviously he's still the head coach for the Steelers, but we talked about this with Tomlin. Same thing applies for Harbaugh. It's just they're gonna come in and they're gonna want so much power, so much say, and I don't think the Raiders are set. Like they are in no position to do that. Like they need to have some structure. They need to have some account. Like we need to build this thing right, and that's what Spytek kept saying in the presser. He said in the past in the offseason. If anybody was paying attention, because and going back to my original point with Spytek, he always had a longer picture, a bigger picture with the Raiders, and I think he knew that, and that's his moves reflected that. We've seen like he didn't really invest too much in free agency and whatnot, but a guy like, just bring it back to Harbaugh, he's gonna want as a lot of power and say on the roster, and we all know coaches are gonna about winning right now.
Yeah,
not later.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm against Harbaugh. How you feel about Harbaugh as a coaching candidate?
I wouldn't hate it. I have Tomlin above Harbaugh, but I wouldn't hate Harbaugh. Just for the simple fact that he's a guy that he's won. He's won Super Bowls. He's built teams. He's built successful staffs. The guys that have been on his staff have gone on to have some success elsewhere. So he's a guy that I think he took Lamar Jackson and he gave him the correct coaches and kind of nurtured his game and helped him learn and grow and become the player that he is today, where I don't think a lot of other coaches would have took the time to invest or showed the kind of patience that he was willing to show with Lamar Jackson. Part of the reason that they say that Harbaugh's on the outs is because they were basically trying to force him to get rid of Todd Monken, and he refused to do so. I think that shows a little bit of loyalty there, and that's one of the traits you want. I think he's a guy that's a leader, and he's seen success. Now, obviously, we talk about all the time with this, that the fact that he was a special teams coordinator, so like kind of where would his expertise lie? It's like it's not really offense, it's not really defense. I guess in your special teams, you kind of got your feet in both worlds, but you want a guy that, hey, if my DC is tripping, like, okay, bam, I'm taking over the defense. Or if my offensive play caller, if he's not doing what he needs to do, okay, bam, I can take over play calling duties. Like, I wouldn't expect Harbaugh to have the ability to do so in either realm. So you kind of worry about that. He is a CEO type head coach, so you also run the risk of, if we have a young stud coordinator, a la Mike McDonald, you lose him, like, where does that put you, right? Like, he lost Mike McDonald and they elevated Zach Orr and they're out of the playoffs, and Mike McDonald is number one seed in the NFC. So there's always that risk there, but he's a much better candidate than Pete Carroll. He's infinitely better than Pete Carroll was as a candidate. It's not even close.
Oh, what I'm saying, for sure, I agree. I'm not saying that he's a bad candidate, not at all. It's just, I know where the Raiders are at realistically, for them to even bring, like, to even convince him, because he, be honest with you, I don't even think he's considering the Raiders.
I wouldn't if I was him.
He's going to be considering a team that has way more talent than what the Raiders are offering, a way better setup for him to compete and win football games and get back to the playoffs right now. So those are going to be his first options, whatever team that's going to have a better setup to that. I mean, the Giants obviously come to mind as far as a team that has like a nice little young nucleus already, of talent. Like, we all know the talent that's on that defensive line. Jackson Dart, you know what I mean? We all know what that is. And even the Falcons, I'm not gonna lie, the Falcons situation is not too bad. You look at like the talent that's on that team. So there's that too. It's like he's not even gonna consider Raiders. But if he were to consider Raiders, the Raiders would have to do the most to convince him. It's like, nah, man, like, it's cool. Just go for a younger candidate that will mesh well with Spytech, that will work well with Spytech. Think about it. Like, a lot of the best coaches in the NFL, if you think about it, like, they were hired. They're like first-time coaches, first-time GMs, young coaches. I mean, there's some retreats there, but, like, I'm trying to think, like, outside of Andy Reid.
It's a mixed bag. It's a mix.
I'm trying to think of, like, all right, because I know Andy Reid is like the one most successful retreat. Like, oh, we knew that he was like a number, like, for sure. Like, but Tomlin, when he first came to the scene, no one knew who he was. Yeah. Harbaugh, same deal. They developed into who they were. You know what I mean? They became who they were, like, based off what they were able to prove by winning football games, winning playoff games, winning Super Bowls. I'm trying to think of, Shanahan. We all knew he was a great offensive-minded coach, but he was a head coach until he got to San Francisco. You know what I mean? Like, they developed into that. I feel like the Raiders are going the route of, like, trying to swing for the fences Ben Johnson was a good attempt. I'm not going to be mad at that, but, like, if you want to be real, like, come on, we got to be realistic, too, at the same time. Like, Ben Johnson was not going to consider the Raiders, but that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
That's a whole different conversation. But my problem with Kubiak is I'm thinking when I think of good offensive-minded coaches, I want to see some box checked. I'm like, okay, QB development, okay, cool. You know what I mean? Like passing game, okay. Run game, no, I don't think it's there. You know what I mean? It's a question mark. I'm not saying it can't be there, but a little bit of a question mark. I'm not sure what that's gonna look like. But Joe Brady is another guy. You know what I mean? We haven't talked too much about. He has a run game though, not gonna lie. But then you got a question like, okay, his ability to develop a QB or identify a QB.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, that's the part where that's important right there. That's huge. That's probably that's number one. So that one kind of scared me a little bit. So
and Joe Brady, yes. Obviously they've been able to run the ball. I think they were the number one rushing offense in the league this year, and a lot of that is James Cook. But you know, you also got Josh Allen, who's able to gain a lot of yards with his legs as well. Kubiak, I mean, like I don't hate Kubiak. You know, like I wouldn't be upset if we grab Kubiak. His tenure in Atlanta in New Orleans didn't end well. And I think he had like talent over there. So it wasn't a situation where there was an absence of talent. He was also in a weak division, and the offense outside of, I think they had 2 early games that were like big high scoring games. And then they kind of sputtered out after that. So, you know, you don't necessarily want to hold that against him completely, but you know, that is a blip on his radar. And but you know, I think he's done a good job this year. You know, Emeka's playing well. Zach Charbonnet's playing pretty well. Walker's playing pretty well. Obviously, Sam Darnold's not playing quite as well this year as he did last year, but he's playing well. So, and he's able to finish stronger than he did last year under Kevin O'Connell. Now, whether that's, you know, by virtue of Kubiak, or that's just him seeing where he faltered the year before, kind of learn from those mistakes. You know, that remains to be seen. But no, I wouldn't hate Kubiak. He's not like, he's not top 3, not in top 4 for me, to be honest with you. I've been saying it for a while. Like the guy I've wanted was Mike LaFleur. You know, I think he's the number 1 candidate for me personally. Just everything where he's traversed, everywhere he's been, whether that be Atlanta, where it was successful, whether it be San Francisco, where it was successful, whether that be the Rams, where it's successful. The only place he didn't have success was with the Jets, and that was largely because of, you know, Zach Wilson and Robert Saleh, who many people think is one of the best DCs in the league. He handpicked this guy to be his offensive coordinator, and essentially, you know, when Jets management wanted to get rid of him because they were trying to salvage Zach Wilson, Saleh fought it because he saw the potential in him. So he never wanted to get rid of him. So when you have a guy that's highly respected as a defensive coordinator, first hiring you as an offensive coordinator, then fighting for you to stay on as an offensive coordinator, I think that speaks to your abilities as a guy on the offensive side of the ball. So for me personally, you look at all of that. Plus, you know, he worked in Atlanta under Kyle Shanahan, who was there at that same time. Raheem Morris, that's a ready-made defensive coordinator because Raheem Morris just got fired by Atlanta. Hey, so you bring in that guy already as your DC, who was able to put together one of the best defenses in the league last year with Atlanta. You already got, and he has head coaching experience, so he's a guy you can kind of lean on. I think that's a ready-made combination for you.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Raheem Morris at DC would be a great hire. Great hire at DC. You know what I mean? I was actually surprised that he was fired, to be honest with you. I thought
me
that
too.
was kind of like, I get it, you know what I mean? Like, they had expectations, but like, he literally went 8-9 2 years in a row. And Michael Penix out for the season. Like, I felt like a third year would definitely make sense.
Yeah.
Like, I would fire.
Drake London was hurt too, part of the year.
Like, what kind of expectations do you have to fire a coach with 2 8-9 seasons when? Now I get it. Like, certain standards is higher somewhere else. Like, maybe the expectation, but I'm not looking at the Falcons as like a team that's like, oh, they're not like okay, what's a great team that's been winning? Like the Chiefs with Mahomes. Like if Andy Reid were to go 7-9, 7-10, or back-to-back seasons, you know what I mean? Like 8-9 back-to-back seasons, they missed the playoffs. Then they're like, people are gonna start questioning things like, okay, is this the time to make the move? Because you got the best quarterback, or one of the best quarterbacks in Patrick Mahomes. Like, to me, I don't know what's the expectations in Atlanta for them to fire a Raheem Morris. Like, you going 8-9 back-to-back seasons. If the Raiders won 8-9 back-to-back seasons, we're probably giving him an extension for the next 10 years.
We doing backflips in the street, man.
Man, it's crazy. Like 8 and 9 back-to-back seasons. We're like, oh man, we got our head coach.
Exactly.
We gonna be talking hella.
Things are looking up.
Man, but Raheem Morris at DC would be huge. Who is he connected to? Would he be connected to McVay coaching staff? So maybe
McVay, but Shanahan too. He was on that.
Chris Shula and Raheem Morris.
I wouldn't hate that. That would be clean. That'd be clean.
Then you grab a. I don't think he would. We've talked about how like Mike LaFleur probably would most likely. But if let's say if he was, but if not, then someone from McVay's coaching staff, or someone from, I don't know. It would be McVay's coaching staff. It wouldn't be. I was about to say Shanahan, but it would be McVay's coaching staff. Yeah,
if it's Chris Shula, it would be me. But see, the thing about LaFleur is that, bro, you can double dip. You got Shanahan connections, and you got McVay connections with LaFleur. Like I said, when Raheem Morris was with Atlanta, he was an offensive assistant, and LaFleur worked under Raheem Morris on the offensive side of the ball. So they worked together in Atlanta under Cal Shanahan. That's a connection, right? Instant connection.
Yeah.
So
not to cut
Okay.
you off, but I just thought about it. Like Raheem Morris would probably fit better with an offensive head coach.
Yeah, because Chris Shula's gonna want to do his own thing. He's gonna probably want like a younger guy to come up under him, not like some old guy. So if he was gonna hire, like, he'd probably go a more experienced offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And possibly a former head coach as an offensive coordinator. That's what I would assume he may do, but he may just go completely young on his staff, which I wouldn't be mad at either. But I think LaFleur, look, people talk about the McVay tree, he's off the McVay tree. People talk about the Shanahan tree. Oh, look at that, he's off the Shanahan tree as well. He was handpicked by one of the best DCs in the league to be his offensive coordinator, and who fought for him to not be let go when Jets management wanted to get rid of him. Like with the two games where he didn't have Zach Wilson as a quarterback, Mike White threw for back-to-back 400-yard games. So it's like, obviously we see what the issue was in New York. So I just think he's just a clear. I think he'd be a great hire. I wouldn't be mad at Kubiak. Like my top two are him and Flores. To be honest with you, I think Flores coming over with Dayball, or Flores coming over with Josh McCown, who was the quarterback's coach of the Vikings. Like, I think either one of those guys is offensive coordinator. Yeah. I think that will be slam dunks either way. So
Josh McCown would be interesting hire, especially him coming from like his background, and then because Josh McCown is a QB coach.
Yeah, with the Vikings, yeah.
But then he was under O'Connell, so I'm sure he's kind of gained some experience being that coach. That we all know O'Connell's a great coach. Or Brian Daboll, you know what I mean? That's like the popular choice right now with him and Flores, just because they're both like they both got that Patriots connection or whatever. I know a lot of people try to talk about like Flores being a Patriots guy too. I don't think he's a Patriots like coach. Like some of these other guys, like I know, like Josh McDaniels obviously comes from that Patriots coaching tree where he's trying to do what that's what kind of messed up Josh McDaniels, because he was trying to implement the Patriot way, but he's not Bill Belichick. I feel like Flores does his own thing.
Yeah.
and it works for him. Same thing with Vrabel. Vrabel, obviously, he was a player, but he's not trying to do the Patriot way. He's also you made a comment about CEO coaches too earlier. I wanted to address. You said about like, you know, CEO coaches not being able to, like, you know, in situations where maybe taking over his play call. But you know what? Campbell did that this year. He took over as a play caller, and he didn't do too bad. He didn't do bad. Vrabel did it. I remember the year where they your favorite offensive coordinator, Todd Downing, was hired by the Titans that year.
Nah. Look, I ain't gonna let you do that. He was hired by who?
By Vrabel, but
exactly. They'll be like it's just the people in the Titans is hired. Like, nah, Vrabel hired him.
Yeah, but still, Vrabel's a good coach, man. He's a good coach.
He's a good.
Don't try to hate. Don't try to hate now. Come on. We can't do that. Let's not do that. Come on, man. Hey, 14-3. What did they? 14-3? I think they went 14-3. That's crazy, bro. The NFL is trash this year. The Patriots should not be 14-3.
Yeah, I can't take nothing from because the defense, their defense is they have a good defense too, so I can't take it. But you know, they wouldn't be 14-3 if not for Drake May playing MVP level football, which I attribute a lot of that to Josh McDaniels and obviously Travion Henderson being the best rookie running back this year. You know.
Hey, man, look, with all the stuff talked about Genty this year, he did break the scrimmage record. You know what I mean? For a rookie. For the Raiders. Rookie. I think for Raiders rookie. Now I think he
had extra game.
I think Jacobs held it before.
Yeah, Jacobs held it. Yeah.
Which is crazy.
But he had an extra game to do it.
Yeah, but he still did it though.
He had an extra game. He had extra game.
He still did it, and he did it like in he did it where it was like multifaceted. Like he did.
Exactly. He did do it via the air, and they were forcing him the ball though that last game. They're trying to get him to 1,000 too. I think they're thinking they're trying to get him to 1,000, but they're trying to get him that record as well. Which like I ain't mad at. Like, dude, you gotta take care of your guys. You know, at that point, what are you really playing for? Nothing. So take care of your guys. You got some guys that got some incentives or something like that. Hey, take care of them. Like that's what I expect the organization to do at that point. You know,
like
Adrian
Peterson was saying about Bijan, like they should have had him like get 200 yards, but they they took him out and they put like a backup running back. And I was like, he was like, why would you? Do that? Like, why are you not giving? I think it was the other week, right, where Bijan went crazy. He was.
Oh yeah. Man, Bijan is. And I missed on Bijan. I thought Bijan would be good. I didn't think he was generational, but God, I'm wrong on that. This movie is generational.
Yeah. Well, they were saying he was the best player in the draft.
He was the best player in the draft class, but I said that I don't think he was that don't mean he's generational to me. Like I thought he was a really good player. So I think he was so good. I tell people all the time, if Bijan Robinson was just a wide receiver, he would have probably been like a 3rd or 4th round pick. That's how good he was just at wide receiver. So you combine that with the fact that he's also like a top 5 running back, like, but I don't know why. I just didn't feel he was a generational player. I didn't see enough of it maybe because I didn't see enough of him at Texas. And they also had another back that was killing too. I think Jeroshan Johnson. They had another back that was killing too. So I was like, maybe it's just the talent over there but nah, bro. Deep Bijan is that dude. Bijan is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's doing his thing for sure. But real quick, let me address the super chat. My guy Santana again, he said, say we draft a QB for our first pick. Would you guys trade up again into the first round for a player like Peter Woods? I mean, if he was like the 32nd, if the 32nd or 31st pick came and he was still on the board, then maybe the Raiders trade up to get him, but not like if it's like not for like a top 15 pick. Like they would have to give up too much to trade up.
I don't think he's falling that far either. He's gonna probably he's for sure like he's probably the best defensive tackle in his draft class. I can't think of a better defensive tackle
like top 15 pick, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's
and it's not like a whole bunch of quarterbacks this year, so not like. You know, it's like I guess offensive line is kind of deep. Maybe that might push him down a little bit. but it's not quarterbacks aren't going to push him down. Possibly some wide receivers, maybe, but I can't see a whole bunch of receivers, like a whole bunch of positions pushing him down. So I think he's for sure going to be like top 15ish, probably top 10.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think like, the only way they would trade up for him is if he dropped all the way down to the end of the first, and the Raiders, obviously they're like gonna be picking at the top of the second round, so then they could probably make sense of it and be like, oh, we could trade up and just give up an extra pick, you know what I mean? Because we're picking this, we're just picking like 2-3 picks after the end of the first round, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only way, to be honest with you. But salute, man. Appreciate the super chat. Let's get into, hey, man, it's that time, bro. It is that time, man. It's flag on the play.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business.
What we got this week, Severe? What's the flag on the play this week?
Yeah, flag on the play, man. We talked about it a little bit earlier. We talked about that the article. We talked about Brendan Carroll. It came up in an article that, like several times, throughout the week, the offensive linemen and Genty and Gino, they were having their own personal like film sessions and meetings to discuss how best to block for them in the passing game and Genty in the running game. And they're doing this without coaches because that's how poor the coaching, especially along the offensive line, had been throughout the year. And I think Glaze talked about it as well. Glaze actually went on a record, and he tried to say, it was just to build chemistry, and but man, the fact that that was happening, and Genty was having to have film sessions with Spy Tech to break down like where's your running backs coach, where's your run game coordinator in these situations, man. The fact that they had to do that to go above and beyond just to get like the minimum level of coaching they should have already been getting. That's a flag on the play.
Nah, definitely flag on the play on Brendan Carroll, which we called. I mean, this is literally. I was talking to Severe earlier, and I was like, bro, we've been dead. Like we've been dead on a lot of things with the Raiders this year, man. And unfortunately, it's all for the worst. It's like it's all bad for the Raiders.
Yeah.
I mean, with obviously with head coach Pete Carroll, we question his age and how it made sense for the Raiders' future. And then the coaching staff hires. Obviously, Brendan Carroll was the one that popped out like, oh man, offensive line coach. That's a very important hire, and you're hiring your son. Like, that's questionable. And as this offseason went along, and obviously preseason came along, and we seen how the performance a little bit, and we're like, you know what, overreaction. We had our overreactions, and our overreactions were pretty much dead on. We talked about the defense, offensive line, the run game. You know what I'm saying? So
I think I said the run game would be bottom 20. Man, I did not think like dead last. I was like,
yeah, but it's even worse to find out how bad Brendan Carroll was. It's not that it was dysfunctionally bad. It's not that he was just a bad. It was not just he was a coach that had a unit that was underperforming. It was like he was just terrible. Like you got all these reports coming out saying that the players are coming together, which I'm sure players probably talk to each other and communicate, but they really were like, hey, they're meeting up to figure out how can we figure out this problem because we're not getting any help from these guys over here. That's the messaging that we're getting from But do you think this is maybe the Raiders putting this out?
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not
because the sources are the agents. It's coming from the agents. It's the sources.
Yeah, but it's no secret.
The agents also have a little bit of what do you call
they have skin in the game because they want to protect their clients and make their clients didn't play well, so they want to do what's best for their clients. Yeah, that's something important that people never. I won't say never, but by and large, people don't think about whenever they read a story, whenever they hear a quote or they hear from a source. That's being put out for a reason. And look at who benefits from it. And the people that benefit from it the most in this situation, is the players. Really a little bit of maybe a little bit of the front office, like Spytek and Brady, where it's like, oh my God, it's like Pete Carroll's going rogue. That's not on us. But mostly it's the players, the people that underperformed. They want to be able to point to extenuating circumstances as to why they weren't able to meet those expectations or perform well in the field. And the easiest place to go to is usually coaching. But in this case, man, like we saw it before the season. We saw it in the first preseason game where there was missing assignments and people told me, oh, Severe, we're just concerned. We're not even running our plays. What are you worried about? Genty's not going to look like this during the regular season. The offensive line isn't going to look like this during the regular season. We're just not running our offense. This is vanilla. And I told him then, bro, if we can't do vanilla right, how the hell are we going to do a vanilla Sunday? We can't do the basics right during the preseason game. We can't execute the basics. How are we going to execute the complexities? So that was off rip. That was an issue. And, people kind of poo-pooed it and you're overreacting. And, those issues lingered. And so, our tackling issues, we talked about those in the preseason. One of the things we pointed to was Pete Carroll not refusing to tackle, during training camp and during the OTAs and stuff. Like he didn't allow players to tackle. And we had tackling issues the whole year. So that problem lingered. That's something we saw early on, and people say, "Oh, don't worry about it," and they're gonna work their way through it through the preseason. Like, bro, like you should already be tackling is. If you haven't noticed, when you play tackle football, tackling is kind of a big deal, right? You should be able to do that well. So, like the fact that you're not practicing that, like that's so all this stuff was rearing its head early on, and people just ignored it, or they put their earmuffs on, or they put on their Raider glasses and they didn't want to see it. But it's like, bro, you gotta recognize this stuff early on. And so we're just hoping that this next staff sees what happened this time and does the complete opposite.
Well, look, we called it out. We weren't all the way sold on Pete Carroll as a head coach for this team at this stage of his career for obvious reasons, like we talked about. But the question is, like, who made the decision to even hire him, like, and think that this was a good idea?
Two people. Well, a group of people, but two main people.
You know what I mean? You gotta put Tom Brady in that.
Yeah. And
then you gotta put Mark in there too.
For sure. Yeah, those are the two guys.
Because I can see Mark being like, oh yeah, experience. Because that's what he said when he hired Telesco. Oh yeah, I thought it was a good idea to put an experienced GM with a guy like Antonio Pierce and da. But in reality, like, when you hire a coach, you want to get a guy that he's familiar with, so then they could work well with each other to make football decisions for the team. Yeah. Champ Kelly, that didn't happen because probably they weren't taking it serious like that. They knew that it was going to be a one-year deal, but that's a whole different conversation, neither here nor there. But look, at the end of the day, like, it all falls under, we have to look at Tom Brady and we got to look at Mark Davis and that interview panel. But like, obviously the two main guys we can point to is like Tom Brady and Mark, just because, for obvious reasons, right? Now with that press release announcing, Pete Carroll's firing, he's putting it on Spytek and Brady to find the next head coach. That's what it sounds like. So hopefully that's a good thing.
That was a smart move by Mark.
It's like,
Mark.
Hey, it's like, what's that picture? There's like a little meme where he goes like this. The old guy's like
the Drewski lad. hey, me. Like, that's what that was. This Mark was like, yep, nope. Yeah, like I hear the rumblings, I see the fans, and they saying Mark this, Mark that. Mark's like, I'm gonna make because there's no need, like there was no, that was like, I mean, for you people who are unfamiliar, with this term. We call that dry snitching, where it's not like you're not like going out and telling somebody, but you're just letting everybody know that these are the people that are doing this behavior. Like perfect example. Like if, let's say you're at work, right? You're at work, and like you're talking to the boss. It's like, oh man, it's like, I didn't know we were giving our lunch breaks now. Like Tom took an hour yesterday. I didn't know we were doing that now. And he's like you're not actually going there and like, guess what, boss? Tom just taking extra long lunches. You're like, oh man, I didn't know we were taking our lunches now. Like Tom took an hour yesterday. And they're like, oh no, we're not doing that. Like, Tom, come to the office. Like, oh well, damn. You know, you snitched on Tom without snitching. That's Mark Davis. That's a press release about firing Pete Carroll. You didn't have to mention Tom Brady and John Spytek are going to people to leave. Like, all you have to do is say some nice words about Pete Carroll, thank him for his time here, and saying, you know, hey, great career. But he made sure that he knew, first of all, he knew the whole media was going to cover this press release. He knew all the Raider fans were going to look at this press release. She's like, I'm going to make damn sure everybody knows these two mugs are the people responsible for the next staff.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Raider Nation, all they can think about is
oh, for sure.
That's all that we can think about. Like, we're not even looking into that. But when I seen that he did that, when I seen like, oh, okay, which for me, like I said earlier, I was like, I like that he did that. I like that he made it clear, like, these are the decision makers. And now we could like, all right, what's the next step? Now they have to make sure that they have to get the right guy that will mesh well with Spytek, and so they can make football decisions for the team and who they can bring in like that. Because we all know, like, yeah, GM's going to pick players, but he's going to pick players for the coaching staff.
Yeah.
So it has to work well with each other. So, but it's going to be interesting though, because in that same report, something that you've brought up like a lot over in the past, especially with the constant carousel with coaches, an executive was like saying that a coach or it was, I don't know if it was the agent or executive, said a coach that accepts a Raiders job, head coaching job, is a coach that will accept any job.
Yeah.
Because he's saying that like the reputation now is like, or the, you know, the Raiders now have told everybody like, hey, look, like, if you don't win any games year one, the fan base will turn on you and ownership will side with them.
Yep.
There's not going to be any logical like, oh, okay, reasoning, like, because this is what they've shown for how many years in a row. So it's like, okay. So now it makes me think like, okay, who are they going to bring in the building? Who are they going to have? Like, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, man. But do we have another flag on the play?
No, that was only flag on the play.
That's the flag on the play, man. Make sure to hit us up on social media for if you guys find a flag on the play. Don't reach out to us. We'll give you a shout out and everything. Either hit up Severe on IG or Twitter. Obviously myself, PharoahNFL, either on IG, Twitter, for any flags on the play. There's plenty of options too. I'm not gonna lie. There's some questionable things that happened, especially with the Raiders. We could have looked at this whole report and just been like, flag.
Yeah, we could have picked out flag at the flag at the flag.
And it was a few flags, man. Like,
oh my god.
You know, I'll give Mark a flag. I give Tom Brady a flag. You know, yeah. Hey, if we want to talk about accountability, we got to get Spytek a flag. You know, we gotta give some of these players a flag. Like, there's so many people that get a flag on a play with the Raiders right now. But you know, that's what it is. But make sure to clock in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We're going live on both channels, so make sure if you haven't already subscribed, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We're not done yet. We got notable quotables. This is where we play a quote, and you know, we talk about what's we spark a conversation after we hear this quote. What's the first notable quotable, Severe?
We're gonna go back to a little bit of what we were talking about earlier, man. You know, you sent this to me. Mint sent it to me. Reese Rock sent it to me. A bunch of people. Everybody knows I'm a Dante Moore guy. So a lot of people were sending this to me, man. It was Todd McShay. Obviously, Todd McShay has his own podcast, and then he was, you know, centers around the draft. We know Tommy Shea is draft expert. He was saying that the representation for Dante Moore should reach out directly to the Raiders, and he has some other interesting things to say as well.
If you're representing Dante Moore, for as with the Raiders, you know you have an organization steep in history, with an owner whose father steep in the, like entrenched in the great history of the NFL, trying to do the right thing, misguided at times, brings in Tom Brady, who can be a source of like helping, although this first go round was not pretty. But how much did Tom, like, I feel like next year with a new coaching staff, as we all presume, Pete Carroll will be out and there will be a new staff. Would you or would you not, as the representation or the representative, the rep for Dante Moore, kind of reach out to the Raiders and say, hey, my client's trying to make a decision. We can live with going to 30 of the 32 teams. Maybe it's 31. I can't allow him to go to the New York Jets. And I realize in 2027, maybe he's the 7th pick or the 5th pick, or maybe he's the first overall pick and the Jets have all that ammo and they can get him there. But I can't allow him to he's got an opportunity to go back to Oregon, probably make the same amount of money that he's going to make in his rookie contract. Phil Knight will make that happen. So I can allow my client to go back to Oregon and have another season with a new offensive coordinator because Will Stein's going to Kentucky, or you can pretty much promise me that he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. Is that so far-fetched? Because I know
it's not, but we're
not one single player in this entire draft, unless they grew up a Jets fan or have some kind of family tie, wants to be a New York Jet. If you're representing Dante Moore,
man, he went in on the Jets, man. And
went in ski.
It's funny too because it's like, not gonna lie, like, for being real, like the Raiders is just as bad as the Jets, but when it comes to quarterbacks, they really miss, like, more than the Raiders.
Yeah. Because
at least we had like a stretch of Derek Carr.
Exactly.
You know,
we just didn't take as many bites at the apple.
Yeah, like we had a stretch of Derek Carr, but before Derek Carr, there was like a weird stretch before that. And like, it was kind of ugly. But then we had Rich Gannon. The Jets, it's like, whew, it's been a long time before they had like something decent at quarterback. Not gonna lie, Chad Pennington.
Chad Pennington's probably it.
But even him, he was just like, you know, like, you know what I mean, like nothing.
Middle of the road. Middle of the road.
Like, we remember the name because you know, back then it was like the Raiders were good. You know what I mean?
Exactly. We played them in the playoffs. I'm saying we played them in the playoffs.
We did, like Chad
beat them in
Pennington.
the playoffs.
You know what I mean? Like, we tripping off no Chad Pennington. Trent Green light. You know what I mean? Like, you know, ain't nobody special. You know, but I think that's what it is. Is that I think he's just speaking to like the fact is like they've been a quarterback nothing. Like they haven't been able to develop that position in a long time. So I guess that's the only thing that you can point to. But the Raiders have kind of been a bad football team for a long period of time as well. So it's like, okay, well, I mean, but I think Moore should just come out just based off like he's going to be a top 2 pick, but he could just be like, hey, I'm going to go back to school, get another year experience, ball out, and then probably go to a team that's not the Jets.
Yeah.
But then he's still going to go to a bad team. Like, it's like I don't.
What if he just ends up like going to the Jets anyway? He does all that and still ends up with the Jets.
Jets, I know, for real. You know what I mean?
Oh my god, that would be You got to fire your engine at that point.
But McShay's all in on Moore though. That's his number one.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
He has.
There's another one you sent me about him too as well.
Yeah, there's another video where he said like if the Raiders picking number 1, if they had to pick between Mendoza or Moore, he's going with Moore. And it's basically for for the biggest reason that we talked about is like Mendoza's the safe pick, and then they say Moore is the high ceiling guy, but it's like the high ceiling is like.
But that's not all he said. So we say high ceiling because that's like an abstract term. What did he say specifically about Moore? He's the best thrower of the football in all of college football. He said him. This is hella corny. I was like, it's kind of corny. It's almost a pause. It's like watching him throw the football is like reading poetry. I was like, brother, you getting close there. Yeah, you're getting a little close. But he is the best thrower, and I've said that several times. Like when I saw him throw the football as a high school, like junior, I was like, oh, this dude going to the league. This dude gonna be nice. He'll be special. And then he committed to Oregon, and then he committed to UCLA, and I saw him actually play games. I saw his first completion in college football was like a 70-yard strike to J. Michael Sturdivant. So it's like his first throw was like, okay, dang. After our other quarterback was struggling for that game. And then I also saw him go through his struggles, but through him going through those struggles, I saw him keep that same poise, that same, focus, like the same like tenets that I see in him now, I saw back then when he was like a 17-year-old, barely 18-year-old guy. So that's why I said early on in the process, like when we were talking about Antonio Pierce possibly being our head coach, I was saying Dante Moore is going to be a top 5 pick and he's going to be a Raider. I said this 2 years ago, and I was hoping we wouldn't be in position, but here we are, and I thought he was special back then. So I just think that just his ability to throw the football, his ball placement, his accuracy. It doesn't have super arm strength, but has more than enough to get it there. I think, he just throws the ball.
It's his accuracy. It's like his ball placement to me stands out more than his arm strength.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But even then, like Mendoza got that too. Mendoza, you know what I mean? You could argue maybe Moore has a little bit better than that, but like Mendoza got some. He has accuracy. He has arm strength. Or enough to make all the throws. You know what I mean?
Yeah, more. Yeah. Both of them have more than enough to make all the throws. Like neither one of them have like a gun, but both of them have more than enough to make all the throws.
Exactly. So it's like I'm trying to like, all right. It seems kind of like, all right. The one thing that you mentioned to me that I didn't think about is that the fact that he's 20 years old.
He's 20, yeah.
Mendoza's 22.
Yeah.
I don't know. When does he turn 23? I don't know if it's like
that. I don't know. But I know he's 22 right now. Dante Moore won't be 21 until after the draft, so it's like several months away. So he's like a 2-year gap, basically.
So there is a like level of like, all right, because one of the questions is his frame. You know what I mean? Like he's 6'3", but like he's not like a super big guy. But if you go to the NFL, you're gonna get hit by a lot of big dudes. So at the end of the day, like you're gonna have to be able to like handle that. You know what I'm saying? Like so if that's the case, then that stuff can add up. So I'm thinking but if he can gain some weight, you know what I mean? I mean right now, where is he at?
Probably like 210, something like that. I would say like 6'3", 210. But I think he has the frame. Like I said before, like Jaden, you can tell by his body, Jaden's not going to gain any weight. Like what Jaden is now, that's what Jaden's going to look like basically his whole career. Dante Moore, in my opinion, has the frame to put on like good weight and then not be like disproportionate. Like I think he has wider shoulders. He doesn't have like he's like he has.
How much weight?
At 6'3", he only needs to put on maybe like 10-15 pounds of muscle. I think you can do that. Like really in the NFL program, you can do that in a year.
So he's 2-0. He's like 2-0 something.
Like 210. I think like 210, 205, 210.
If he's 210, 15 pounds, not impossible.
Put him on it'd be 225. But even if he's 205, get to 220, 6'3", 220. I think that's good enough weight.
Yeah, that's not bad. 220, not bad. But yeah, man. McShay's all in, man. I'm kind of like, I feel like it's close. I feel like Mendoza is the safer of the pick, and that's the part I'm like, man, I'm kind of scared a little bit. It's kind of like, damn, like if he comes to the Raiders, he's gonna need some development, and the Raiders got to make sure they are on point with that. You know what I mean? Just because of the experience factor, because he's really only had like 1 year of like starting. He had a little bit like
year and a half.
Yeah, and it has more to do with that the study I was telling you about, like where they took all of the quarterbacks from the last 10 years, they got all their college starts, and they were comparing like the success of all these quarterbacks based off how many college starts they had. And it really didn't matter until like when you got to like that 25 to 20, you start noticing like, damn, like, whew, like some of these guys like Sam Darnold, he eventually figured it out. I think he was like one in the 25 range, like somewhere between 25 and 20 starts. He figured it out, but then you can see his process was a little bit like he went through some, you know what I mean, a roller coaster when it came to his career. Like at some point, like he was a backup, like, you know. Same thing with Mac Jones, who was also on that list, less than 20 starts. You got the Kyle Murrays, who's you probably could argue is the best, but then even him.
Yeah, I mean now probably Sam Darnold's the best. I mean, you know, he's probably Tyler Murray's the most talented probably, but I think Sam Darnold probably, you know, what he's done in the last 2 years, he'd probably be the best.
Right, that's fair. And then you start looking at it, you're like, man, the Mitchell Trubisky less than 20 starts, but you know what I mean? Anthony Richardson less than 20 starts. Yeah, y'all know what's going on there. And then you know, Mac Jones, who's also in there, but then you see how his career is like, you know, after that first year. So it's kind of like it's a
good coaching.
Good
I mean, you know,
it's a risk.
I mean, like the guys that have had success, it's been because they've had good coaching. Mac Jones, his first year, you know, he's a Pro Bowler. He was like, you know, he's a pro bowler his first year.
Yeah.
But you know, and then then they hired Joe Judge and Matt Patricia as co-offensive coordinators, and he struggles. Right? That was disgusting. But he struggles. But you know, then he gets with Kyle Shanahan and he looks good again. He's Sam Darnold. You know, he goes to all these different stops and he struggles. Then he gets with Kyle Shanahan as a backup, and then he goes to Kevin O'Connell and looks good. And now he's over there with, you know, Clint Kubiak, who was a hot commodity as a head coach, still looks good again. So, you know, I think the common denominator is coaching. But like one thing I say about Dante Moore, I think I tagged you in a tweet from Louis Riddick, and who actually, and I think we all know and respect Louis Riddick and what his opinion on guys. He's one of the few people that agree with me that had, you know, CJ Stroud over Bryce Young. I think he's one of the few people that had, you know, Jaden over Caleb Williams, if I recall correctly. But he just talked about Dante Moore, and he's talked about like how mature he was and how high his football IQ was and how emotionally mature he was. And he's talking about just like, you know, this, like how he was special, how special of a guy he was. Especially at that young of an age, and how poised he was. So like I think the difference between Dante Moore and those other guys is that Dante Moore, after he left UCLA, he could have went to dang near any college he wanted to in the country. He was a 5-star. Like I think he was the second highest ranked quarterback in that quarterback class that he left. He could have went just about anywhere and demanded a starting job, but he didn't do that. He wanted to go to a place where he knew he would be developed properly, and that's why he ended up going to Oregon. And I think, you know, that's paying dividends right now. So I think that like we're holding the fact that he doesn't have those starts against him, but he could have easily gotten those starts. But he chose to go somewhere where he would get that actual development playing the quarterback position, and you know, and that's why he chose Oregon.
Yeah. No, look. Like I said, I think Mendoza's a little safer, so I'm going that route. I feel like he's still a good prospect too. Like just got like more better. Like I don't want people to get to. I like Mendoza's a good ass prospect too.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's kind of close. So what it really comes down to is like, who do they really like? That when they hire that coaching staff, who's the coaching staff going to be all in on? Have his plan, has the system, everything set up for him to be successful, like that's what it really come down to me, in my opinion. Like, because it won't matter. Like, if Moore gets drafted, we talked about it before. Like, if Moore gets drafted and then like one guy believes in him, but the rest, everybody else is like, I don't know. You know, it's just not going to work out. But I wouldn't be mad at Moore. Hopefully they both come out and the Raiders could just lock in and just do their research all the way to the bitter end until they figure out, okay, this is our guy. And they're gonna figure that out. That's really what's gonna come down to. But I think one of the evaluations is gonna come from this game too. So make sure to tune in and watch this game, Oregon versus Indiana this Friday. So make sure to check that out. Do we have another a notable quotable?
Yeah, we got Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think you're talking about Brian Flores.
Yeah. So earlier we were talking about Brian Flores as a head coaching candidate. Obviously, we don't hate him as a head coaching candidate, but we also understand, like, you know, he does come with some red flags. Yeah. And you know, Ryan Fitzpatrick, he talks about, like, you know, Brian Flores with his time with the Dolphins. So here we go.
I mean, I think the interesting thing with Brian Flores, when I think about him and being able to play under him for a few years, is which version of Brian Flores are we getting? And in year one with Miami, take you back to that year, I mean, Miami got rid of every good player they had, and that was the jokingly called the tank for Tua year. But I'll tell you, halfway through that year, we hadn't won a game yet. And there was a shift in the way that he was approaching his job. He was likable. He was relatable. He demanded a lot out of the players, but he was also able to get the best version of his players. And I really appreciated him for that. But as his tenure went on in Miami, he kind of became unrecognizable. A lot of the staff he brought over from New England, that was where, you know, he cut his teeth in the NFL, was there for 15 plus years as an assistant. But I think he's going to have a really hard time if you're interviewing him as a head coach. I think in the interviews, he'll be likable, he'll be relatable. But when people say, okay, give me somebody from Miami that coached under you as a reference so we can talk to them, I think he burned a lot of bridges there. I think he alienated himself from the entire staff. Instead of what you were just talking about, having the humility to ask questions, to collaborate. I think by the end of his time there, he became a dictator. He ruined a lot of those relationships that he built up through the NFL. And his ego grew so big that there wasn't any room for anyone else. And so that was why he got released at the end of his tenure in Miami. I hope, you know, we love Mike Tomlin as a leader. And I know you have some experience with Kevin O'Connell, that whole collaboration thing. I think that's, you know, McVay and the people that come up through that system, for Flores to be able to watch Kevin for a year. I hope that helps him.
Yeah.
Because he certainly needs some help in that department of, you know, not necessarily being a dictator and having a collaboration with the whole staff and having a lot of different voices and how.
Whew. Damn. Damn, Fitzpatrick. When we there's a special word for Fitzpatrick. This man just, like, as soon as this dude's name came out to be a possible head coach candidate. Well, this clip is actually, you know, I think an older clip, but it's still kind of like, damn, you just gave teams ammunition to. I mean, at the end of the day, they're gonna find out anyway. You know what I mean? If they do their due diligence, do their research and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna say like what he did was like, but he just came out and just kind of like destroyed Brian Flores, like, as a person. Well, not as a person, but as a candidate for a head coach, because he's basically saying like he is, I want to say a cancer, but like kind of like he was the problem. But in reality, he brought, like, I'm just looking at, like, he maximized. The Dolphins weren't like a team that people had high expectations for, and he had them like competing.
Yeah.
You know, so that was kind of I was like kind of strange, but I guess, you know, hey, if this was happening behind the scenes, this is something that, you know, like, is kind of concerning a little bit, like, because the Raiders have their problem with coaches that come in and they just alienate themselves from team or whatever, and it doesn't work out too. So, and in the quarterback situation, the Tua, we have to keep an eye on that too. That's very important because, man, especially if you talking about see, this is what I'm saying. That's why Dante Moore kind of like if Dante Moore goes to Brian Flores, and Brian Flores is talking about like, you're trash.
See, but thing is that I think Dante Moore would handle it. Dante Moore has more emotional maturity than Fernando Mendoza. I think Dante Moore being called trash by Flores, would it affect him? Yeah, any young player will be affected by it. I think it would like destroy Mendoza. Like he'd be like he'd cry. Like, you know, if you feel me? Like not because he's a punk or anything like that. I just think he's just like more emotional of a player. You see, like after the game on the field, he's like, you know, he's just an emotional person, and it's not a bad thing necessarily because you want your leader to be able to show emotion because people can relate to emotion, but you want them to be too emotional, and you know that's also a red flag. But like the thing about talking about Brian Flores is that, you know, like people don't put things in proper context. Because while he's there in Miami, remember, he was approached by the ownership telling him, yo, you got to lose games. And for every game you lose, I think it was like $100,000 they were going to give him. So like when somebody is telling you to like do something that betrays your integrity and sullies the game of football, a game that at one point, Brian Flores was talking about he was making like $400 a week or something like that, like living out of his car, like doing all kind of crazy stuff, just trying to get his shot. So you've worked this hard just to get your shot. Yeah. You finally get your shot as a head coach, work your way up from the very bottom as a scout for the Patriots organization, work your way all the way up. Now you're the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, and the owner of the team is telling you you need to lose. And it's not like a hey, I want you to put in some young guys and see what it. Nah, it's like, bro, $100,000 a loss. Like that's going to affect you. That's going to weigh on you, and you're going to internalize that. And whatever you internalize, eventually you're going to project, and you're going to, you know, put those same emotions and put those on other people. So I think that's just a natural byproduct of kind of the stress that he was dealing with at that time, you know. So I just think that that's part of it. Is that an excuse? No, because you like at the end of the day, even if you didn't want Tua, you should still give Tua as much development as possible and try to put him in the best circumstances as possible so he can be the best player that he can be, no matter where you wanted him or not. But, you know, with everything going on, like I feel that was a byproduct of what was happening.
Yeah, man. We appreciate everybody coming through. Make sure to clock in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Greg says Dante Moore is younger and not even 21. Yet I believe Mendoza might not need the urge to roam Vegas Strip. I can see that too. I don't know. You don't know. More could probably be the same way too. Absolutely.
Yeah, more the same way. Have you ever heard him talk?
Yeah, I absolutely horrible coach if he did that from a player perspective. That's not coaching. Yeah. Man, Fitzpatrick kind of went in.
Yeah,
and
but
the damning statement was like if he called anybody from the Dolphins, like he would have a hard time. They would have a hard time finding anybody that would actually vouch for him. I was like, damn.
Yeah, but that's his opinion though.
Patrick Graham, you know, like
yeah.
But then
Patrick Graham went to him twice. I think Patrick Graham worked for him twice. I want to say,
but he did go to the Giants, the same position too.
After Flores bounced. After he lost his job, he went to Giants. And he went to work with Joe Judge, who was another Patriots guy. And then Brian Daboll got there, and Brian Daboll asked Patrick Graham to stay, and Patrick Graham turned him down to go work for Josh McDaniels.
Oh man, yeah. The Raiders got to do their due diligence, man. Like they can't lock in onto any candidate, and none of these guys is perfect. Like we talked about, we kind of like looked at Clint Kubiak, we looked at the Joe Brady's, the Brian Flores, even John Harbaugh, and like what that possibly could look like. You know what I mean? And like how how me personally, I don't know if you're in on Harbaugh being the head coach for Raiders. For me, it's just like I know that it's gonna come with extra stuff, and that's the part that I'm like, And then part of me is like, man, we need to just get a young coach, bro. We're rebuilding. Like, why even risk messing up that process? Like, let's just like figure it out. Like, let's identify a guy that you believe in, and go from there. It's been a while since Raiders did that. Raiders have just been trying to like, swing for the fences, like Gruden, McDaniels, Pete Carroll. You know what I mean? I guess one off is Antonio Pierce, but we all know that was even like they didn't take it serious.
Yeah, and that was kind of like after the way he finished that interim stretch, that their hands were almost forced to do it.
Yeah, no, man, I'm it is what it is, man. But if you haven't already, make sure to clock in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell. We are not done yet. What's real, what's not? So we say statement. We react as well as you guys, everybody watching. If it's real or it's not, what's real, what's not statement?
This is an interesting one. So there's a lot of different ways I can go to, and we kind of had this conversation a little bit earlier. But what's real, what's not is with their first pick in the upcoming draft, the Raiders must select a quarterback. With their first pick in the upcoming draft, the Raiders must select a quarterback.
It's real. It's real. They have to. They have to. Look, because I'm not saying this because I don't want the Raiders to get a quarterback, but I also look at the bigger picture and I look at the team and I'm looking at the prospects. The prospects ain't strong where I'm like, oh, these are can't miss prospects at quarterback. Then I look at the team, I'm like, man, we got so many different holes. So I can see the value of trading down, but I can't see it. The answer, like they've tried to address quarterback position through trade, through free agency, and now, and part of it, their reasoning you could probably hear their reasoning is like, oh, okay, well, we don't have no clear answer at quarterback, and getting a quarterback in the draft. So we need to get it in free agency. We need to identify a trade candidate and get it that way. That's not the case this offseason. They have the number one pick. They're going to have their choice. Hopefully between Moore and Mendoza. If one just comes out, then it's like, man, I'd rather have them have options and actually like, all right, break down which these quarterbacks like actually fit what they do. And be like, oh, okay, this is the guy that they want. This is the guy that they believe in. This is the guy that they want to build around. This is the guy that they envision to lead the franchise. Instead of just being like settling for, because what happens in a situation if they're all in on Moore and he doesn't come out and then they have those. Like, I don't want that to be the situation. You get what I'm trying to say? I want the situation to be like they have their choice and then they could, determine like by evaluating them and going through that whole process of figuring out which one is the best quarterback for them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to say real. My answer is real. The Raiders have to take a quarterback. They have to.
With their first pick.
First round. Yeah, they have to. Number one overall pick. Like, they can't. It is what it is, bro. Like, there is no Myles Garrett. There is no Calvin Johnson. There isn't no like generational left tackle. You know what I mean? There is no generational player where it makes you be like, oh, okay, we should go this route because these quarterbacks are really not as good. Even though like that's how valuable the quarterback position is like they don't have to be generational to be taken number one.
Yeah.
So it's real for me. What's your take?
It's not real for me. And I always have the opinion that you shouldn't let need or outside pressure or expectations dictate what you do in a particular draft or with a particular draft pick. You have to do what's best for the organization, not only at the time, but what you think will be best for the organization going forward. And if the Raiders, as improbable as this is, if they're not sold on either one of these guys being a franchise quarterback, then they are duty bound to not select them, right? You cannot, I made this example, like when I was talking to somebody else, like you don't marry a girl just because like that's the only girl that's willing to marry you at that particular time. Like, right. You don't be like, yeah, ain't nobody else trying to marry me. I need to get married. Like, hey, let's get married. That's likely not going to work, especially if you don't feel that's the person for you. What you do is you improve yourself. You get in shape, you get a better job, you improve your style, your hygiene, maybe you get a house, and you do these other things, and then you become more attractive, and then that expands your options, and then you can get the girl that you want, that you desire, and who you feel is wife material, rather than just marrying somebody out of obligation, right? So if the Raiders aren't convinced that either one of these guys, and like that might not be the case at all. They may love one of them. They may love both of them. But on the off chance that they don't feel that they're sold on either one of these guys, then you have to trade the pick. You have to trade the pick. Like you are obligated to trade the pick if you're not sold on these guys at quarterback. Because people always think about like what people don't look at is opportunity cost, right? You don't look at what this pick does, or what this pick costs, or what this item costs, right? You look at what you would have done with that asset had you not used it here. So if the Raiders draft a quarterback at 1 that they're not sold on, that means they likely can't draft a quarterback in the first round or the first couple of rounds next year, because they have to see that through. So not only are you costing yourself the asset of a number 1 overall pick, you're costing yourself the opportunity to trade back and acquire more picks and to fill out your roster, but you're also costing yourself an opportunity to draft a quarterback early next year in case this guy who you're not truly sold on doesn't work, because you almost have to give him the opportunity to battle through whatever early struggles he has, unless you like Arizona Cardinal, Josh Rosen, how they drafted, but that wasn't a number 1 overall selection. So you paint yourself into a corner if you're not sold on either one of these quarterbacks. So I don't think that will be the case, but if that is the case, then they cannot select a quarterback number 1 overall.
I hear you, but like you said the Raiders have to take a. You said the question or the statement was the Raiders have to take a QB with their first pick?
Yeah.
And that's my answer's still real. It's still real. I hear what you're saying. Like at the end of the day, like it kind of goes back to what we said earlier. Like no matter the quarterback, they have to be all in on it. So that's pretty much what you're saying. If they're not all in on both quarterbacks, then they shouldn't force the pick, which I agree, but I don't think that's the case with this. If more Mendoza come out, I don't think it's the case. But damn, imagine a situation where they trade down, get a draft haul, whatever the case may be. Some team trades up, they trade down, they get multiple first round picks, second round pick, and then they draft Drew Allar in like this is the second round or something like that, or third round.
What's funny is that Todd McShay hates Drew Allar.
He hates Drew Allar.
He hates Drew Allar as much as he loves Dante Moore. Like that's how much he hates Drew Allar.
Who's been his guys? Like what's McShay's over the years? I'm trying to. I don't even remember.
I don't remember either, to be honest with you.
Remember,
Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart was his guy. Like, that was my guy. Remember, I kept sending you stuff from McShay talking about Jackson Dart. I'm like, hey, but look, Jackson Dart, bro.
He was his number, like number 2 quarterback or something?
He was number 2. Yeah, he was his number 2. over Shador. So that's what, and that's why eventually he got to my like, he was like basically tied with me with Shador. It was Cam, Shador, Jackson, and then Tyler Shook. Those were my top 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for him it was Cam and then Jackson Dart.
Okay. Yeah. Damn, he hates Drew Aller. Whew. Man.
Yeah. He said some team he said if Drew Aller would have stayed healthy this year, some team, or if he would have came out last year, some team would have drafted him in the second round, and it would have been a huge mistake for them. I was like, dang. He's like, he just doesn't believe in that guy at all.
Damn. I know. Like if a team drafted him, he would have to sit. You know what I mean? And it would have to be a developmental process or whatever. But god damn, this quarterback class is like, it's just tough, bro. I just claim clubbing, but I'm just like,
Yeah.
You know what I
mean?
mean?
Beck is gonna start climbing up some boards, especially if he keeps doing what he's doing.
Yeah, but
the thing, and what makes it worse though is that the free agency class is even worse. Like this is a terrible free agency class for quarterbacks.
Oh,
like I was telling my boy
from Green Bay, might be the best.
But he's gonna probably get overpaid though. That's the thing. He's
gonna get overpaid.
Like, I was telling my boy, and this may not happen. He may not be available. But I was telling somebody, look, if we end up not feeling good about either one of these quarterbacks, I wouldn't mind giving the massage parlor Mac a 1 year deal if he's let go. Because I think he's still under contract. So if he ends up being let go, Mr. Massage himself, take a 1 year $15 million deal, 1 year $10 million deal, something like that, something cheap for 1 year.
So you think he's gonna be available, Deshaun?
I think he could be, especially now since Stefanski's not there. Andrew Berry's there. He might have the authority to be like, you know what, Deshaun, I want you up out of there. I got Dylan. I got Shador. I'm gonna roll with the young guys. I'm gonna bring in the true vet mentor to help mentor these guys and get this money off the books. So I think the cap hit lessens next year, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, but who are they gonna get? What young quarterback are they gonna get with Deshaun? We're just hypothetically speaking. If like the Raiders don't take a quarterback, which obviously I feel like they're taking a quarterback. But let's say if they trade down and they don't take a quarterback in the first round, they go BPA. And that trade down could look like, they might trade down and pick Caleb Downs. They might trade down and pick, I think by that time, the top pass rushers like, trying to think like, maybe they trade down and they get that pass rusher from Texas Tech.
Damn, I forget his name. Is Bailey?
Yeah. Bailey.
Is it Bill Bailey? Bill Bailey or something like that? I forget Bailey, but he was a dog though. He's a dog. He was killing that game too. My God.
Yeah. So maybe they trade down somewhere, in the top 10 and, or top right outside the top 10, they draft him. I wouldn't be mad at that. You know what I mean? And then keep stacking.
Or Peter Woods. Shoot. We just talked about him.
Or trade down and you draft Spencer Phantom. You know what I mean? Like or Mari Noah, You know what I mean? Like you trade down and then you keep stacking in the trenches. You still draft. You draft at both lines, offensive and defensive line, and then like, man, when you get to and let's say like you have 2 first-round picks, offensive, defensive line, and then you get to that second round, you could go BPA. You can probably go, man, if Denzel Boston is there in a second, oh man, that's
you run, don't walk. Turning your car for that one.
Easy, no-brainer decision right there. The Tennessee receiver,
Chris Brazzell.
I like him, but then I am scared. Like the Tennessee receivers, I ain't gonna front. Like I was like, damn, I don't even want to take that risk. I'm cool.
Yeah, the last one that's worked, I think Juwan Jennings. So I think Juwan Jennings went to Tennessee. You might have to look that up. I think Juwan Jennings.
He's like a third receiver.
Well, he's technically their number one right now, but he's a number two. He's like a Jacoby Myers, basically. He's Jacoby Myers.
I don't know. But yeah, man, we appreciate everybody coming through. Make sure to clock in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Great show, great conversation. We're gonna bring it back this Thursday around the Shield. Make sure to tune in. Hopefully we'll try to get a guest, and we'll have another great conversation about the Raiders offseason. The head coaching candidates is fluid. Everything is coming in every day. So I know that the Raiders have requested to speak to Van Joseph and Clint Kubiak. So that's going to be interesting. Severe, let the people know what they can find you, what to look forward to, all that good stuff.
Yeah, Vance Joseph is like the fact that they're requesting to speak to Vance Joseph. That means they may have a guy like ready, locked and loaded. Because Vance Joseph strikes me as like Rooney Rule guy. Like I don't think you consider Vance Joseph seriously as your head coach. That's just me. I think that's a Rooney Rule situation. So they may have a guy in mind, or are they trying to just get it out of the way early and like, look, we interviewed 2 Negroes. Let me hire my real coach now. But man, you guys know what it is, man. The Severe Raider here on YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, X, IG, everywhere. The Severe Raider. Holla at your boy. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, hype the video, leave a comment. And man, hey, Sundays and Wednesdays, my guys, Protect the Shield, Christian Protect the Shield, and 805 Raider, the Raider Roar Room. Obviously Tuesdays and Thursdays with PharoahNFL, with the 50-50 show and Around the Shield. I am actually planning to go to the draft in Pittsburgh. I'm setting it in motion. So if y'all gonna be out there, holla at your boy. If y'all gonna be out there. So I'm trying to get some cracking. Meet as many people as I can. So if y'all planning on going, let me know.
Oh man, I wish it was like in Vegas too. That would have been
clean. Yeah, Pittsburgh is kind of disgusting.
Yeah, but man, hey, number one pick. Yeah, damn, the Raiders got the number one pick. Damn, but I got PTSD because I've seen so many like so many moments where like I always think about the Cleveland Pharaoh. And the dude just put on his hoodie and just turned away. That was crazy, but. Yeah, make sure to, if you guys haven't already, make sure to follow Around the Shield on social media, on IG, on X. Obviously, follow me on PharoahNFL everywhere on social media. Obviously, if you haven't subscribed, definitely do so. We're going to do the show Around the Shield later this week. Tune in. We'll be back 50-50 show next Tuesday. We appreciate everybody coming through. On the way out, make sure to clack out. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Any last words before we head out, Severe?
Nah, man, it's interesting to see what this coaching staff, his coaching search is going to look like. Like I already said, man, Mike Flores and Brian Flores, those are my top 2 candidates, man. But hey, this is exciting times, man. Coaching hires, draft time, like number 1 overall pick. This is the most enjoyment Raider fans get during the football season.
Bro, this is the best part. This is our like playoffs. It's our Super Bowl. Like right now, it's like. There's so many possibilities that we're thinking about how this team can get addressed, and we're gonna be all in and talking about that conversation.
Hey, that's a good one. That's a good one by Coach. That's a good point. I would do that, but they're so thirsty for jobs, or so they're so eager to get their name out there that they don't want to do it. But Coach has a good comment right there.
Yeah, no, facts. That's why I was like, when you said it, I was like, damn, like that's crazy, man. I was dying laughing, but it's an ugly truth though.
Yeah.
Man, appreciate everybody coming through, man. Salute, bitch, man. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. But yeah, we up out of here, man. We'll see you on Thursday. Peace.